Okay, everyone, and welcome back, and welcome to game number 2 of Robert versus Ryu. I casted first game on Sunday. So, yeah, I have a guest with me again. One of my favorite co-casters of all time.
Hello everyone, it's me, Alot. I'm also my own favorite co-caster. I'm a great co-caster.
Yeah, he is absolutely fantastic, and he's a bit closer now as he moved back to Sweden, so it's a bit easier to organize co-casts again.
Yeah.
And yeah, what do we have in front of us here?
Well, it's the 11th SS against 8th Indian. Quite a interesting matchup, and it's on a new map, the new one we won Tannenberg, which I think is a very interesting map because I think it's quite unique in how it plays to many of the more common maps you see in the league.
Yeah, I fully agree. It has some slight Normandy 44 and some slight Warno feeling, I feel like, with how the cover works, how the hills work, how the towns work. The towns feel kinda like in Warno, whilst the hills and so on feel a bit more like Steel Division Normandy. So I kinda like it. Also, we saw Herr Robert in the first game with the 8th, and he lost versus 28 Vega there, but it was a close fight. And now this time versus 11th might be an interesting matchup, especially as he's Maverick as well this time.
Certainly, and it's an interesting map also, I think, because I think people haven't really figured it out yet, because as we said, it plays quite differently, and I know I haven't really figured it out fully yet. I feel like there's still some things that I want to test around and see how it goes, because it plays a lot like interesting with the open areas, the town areas, the forested area, like and like you say, all of the special different places you can hide with the line of sights in this.
Yeah, here we go. Pumas are on the map. Jagdpanzer Su-76 is around as well. On the other side, only a couple of Hummers and one of the autocars. Autocar versus Puma should be an interesting matchup. Puma's slightly favored, but autocar has some good rate of fire. So
Yeah, and it's the cars are not alone, so usually that's gonna be. And we see like a pretty balanced here from Quarter U. He is going quite light in the south, which I think is pretty standard from his side, and but still pretty balanced. I think the focus is gonna be the middle here for Quarter U in the beginning, while for Herr Robert it's probably gonna be then the southern city here, and it's gonna be interesting because the southern is very low on stuff. Seeing how two Panzer Grenadiers and the Stug are not gonna fight very well in that city, I think.
yeah, 3 Panzer Grenadiers. Panzer Grenadiers are pretty okay in defense, but Indian rifles and snipers can dislodge them for sure. The question is, can the IG-33 from the rear help out? And how does the fight go in the northern section as well, where both have somewhat light forces? Autocar is bullying the MT-42. Yeah.
She's early airplay as well.
Oh, the classic Hurricane of Herr Robert. Yeah, he loved them with Panzerna in... He was a big Panzerna fan in Steel Division Normandy, and he likes his Hurricanes. Slow, affordable planes that come with a big bang. But
Yeah.
Ooh, is it going down? No, it actually survives. Crazy. Close.
Yeah, I think the center looks... There's a lot of units in the center, but no one's really doing much there. The stuff is getting pushed back in the north there. Like, just that Panzergrenadier goes down, he can probably sneak the most northern flag here. While Quarter U has an interesting Speerwagen here in the south here, trying to reach around here in this southern part. Just needs to be careful of that autocar.
Ooh, the autocar is engaging the STKFZ. The IG-33, its heat shell only has 750 meter range, so it can't do much about that. Like, it could engage with its HE shells, but that would take at least 2 shots or so to kill it. But the first Dorado is around, and those will be nasty.
Scary. Will they move away in time?
Ooh, that was a solid hit. Solid first hit of the Dorado, and we will see much more of this. But in the north, Hurricane retaliates, gets the Puma. So the north part of you is nearly completely collapsed already.
Yeah, and he's not like he's surviving in the south, but he's not doing good. In the very south, like he has some defense, he does his Puma. The center, He's trying to push now. That's the one. The center is the only one area where actually Quarter U is ahead at the moment. I feel he's quite on the back foot everywhere else, especially in the north, as he's losing his last unit there in the north now.
Yeah, Indian rifles pushing in, field engineers behind it. And in the middle, it's a lot of field engineers as well for Robert. It doesn't look like much, but he actually has a sizable force there as well. So even there, he might be able to hold out.
Yeah, and like if he's about to reach these, that's Jack Panzer is a pretty good position because it defends his flags well. But like if he just gets like it hides in the close by buildings here in the north, it's an open area for Quarter U to get back there. So that's gonna be quite difficult to get back into. And how you usually get back in there, maybe with some mortar or air support, but he's not gonna be able to invest in mortar or air for a good while now, seeing how thin his line is at the moment.
Way better engineer micro in the center by Quadro U so far. So he is winning that fight. Lost a couple of flamethrowers, but his pioneers are still alive. Only 3 Indian field engineers remaining. They all need to reload their TNT, so the one TNT of Quadro U will deal quite a bit of damage to them. Flamethrower also coming in, and yeah, all the field engineers still need to reload their TNT. So they don't do anything. Yeah, bad CQC micro there by Herr Robert. One of his weakest spots overall, I would say, in his gameplay. CQC, he's not as good as someone like Quadro U or someone like Gonzo. And I think that's one of his biggest weaknesses currently in his playstyle.
Certainly, but it does look good because from a divisional standpoint, I think that Quarter U is the one that actually needs to make stuff happen because the grindier game, the 8th, is much more aligned in that playstyle, especially when it goes like it's currently going, where you can't invest in the Arados to like that's your best grind unit other than like some radio mortars or half tracks you have I mean from Quarter U, which is not really something you have the points to spare at the moment.
Yeah, he wins the middle, but at least the last couple of Indian field engineers got one more flamethrower and one more pioneer killed, so it's not like Quadro U has a crazy amount of units in the middle left either. But in the south, his Stuk and his Spewagen do a good job on the Indian infantry of Herr Robert. He could maybe move those out of the range of fire there. Whilst the IG-33 also starts to just shell the town. See what survives, see what doesn't.
I think it's going to be hard for Robert to push further there because of the IG and the pack defending. And also that Stug is going to be really hard to break for him because like the Flak 36 is going to stop stuff from killing us. Or has it moved too far into the forest? Yeah, the Flak 36 is actually a bit out of position, slightly only. I think it's a bit too far into the forest to get an early shot, but I still think it's enough to protect the Stug 4 now. And with that and the recon cars, I think Herr Robert is not going to be able to push the Southern City now for a while. But double Hurricane coming in.
Let's see how far that can go. No AA on the side of Herr Robert, so a fighter for Quadro U could go a long way now. He could shoot down both of these Hurricanes easily. But yeah, so far he seems to rely on AA, and that doesn't help you against the Hurricanes. They get a Schwedenzug, they also get good damage onto the Stuk, as they have two 227 kilogram bombs, and those do quite a bit of bang for an 80-pint plane.
Yeah, and just like I said, the flak is too far into the forest, so it started firing really late and stopped firing very early. That's why, like, only one of the planes actually got like fall back, but that was on the way back, and the other one wasn't even touched. So Quarter U needs to do something about that AA if he wants to not get hammered more here in the north. And there's a lot of red units, and he just needs that like critical kill on the Stug, and then probably the north wouldn't last much longer. Arado coming in again.
Yeah, another Hurricane. But this one doesn't quite hit, but at least destroys the building. Arado coming in as well, doing a solid hit once more. Doesn't really need to fear the fighters too much that Robert has. He has Spitfires. Spitfires are good in fighter versus fighter action, as they have a lot of damage and are pretty maneuverable. They're pretty okay against slow bombers, but they're not that good against fast bombers like Arado. They are a slight bit too slow.
Robert's gonna struggle in the middle. He sent some reinforcements, but I think they're gonna get, yeah, they're gonna get decimated really quick here with the Panzerschreck and the Pioneers up around. He's not in a good spot here, and if you get to the forest edge here, which you don't see often on this map, but if you get out to the forest edge, it's very hard to get back into the central forest. And Quadri might actually do it at this moment. Herr Robert, really, what do you think Herr Robert needs to do if he really wants to save the center here? Because I think it's going to be very important for him if he wants this game.
I feel like waiting for his Hurricanes to return and then try to bomb the center with some infantry coming in at the same time is the way to go. I don't think he... we are close to B phase. I don't think he has any more CQC infantry in A, which is the problem. And there's a hell of a lot of Pioneers on the side of Quadri U, so Indian Rifles will not do well in this forest. I would say he should try to ignore it mostly. Like, I don't think he can fight for the flags. He just needs to contest it somewhat so that there is no safe spot for AT guns or so for Quadri U in that forest. That he can't make it a base for himself to lash out from. But Herod, I don't even know if he can really take it back in until C phase. Like in C phase, when you have time and artillery and a lot of bombers, then maybe you can do it again. But for now, I think he should just focus on where he's winning already. On the town in the south, on the town in the north.
One potential is actually, I think, that you can use the southern road on the forest, like he's doing now. He's connecting here. There's some memes with the front line. If he cuts that big blob off, it's a huge win for him. And it actually isn't too hard for him to do, maybe, if he can move something to connect the northern part as well.
Yeah, but
that's gonna really cut him off.
Currently he tries too hard to move in there with vehicles. And that was already a problem in the last game that these two guys played, where a lot of his Humbers, a lot of his Shermans got killed off by Panzerschrecks, and yeah, unsupported Shermans shouldn't be around there. They shouldn't be there.
Yeah, I think that game here is, like you say, you can't really take that area for a long time. So it's actually to try to meme the front line. If you just connect further up and you just block it off the front line, then you don't really need to bother about this big stuff for a long time.
Yeah, and Hurricanes can safely bomb there, so just have an Indian rifle around that can spot some of the enemy infantry, and so you have a safe bombing target with your bomber, come in with the bomber, kill that infantry unit of the enemy, and then repeat. Because you don't really have to fear the enemy AA or enemy fighters this deep in your territory, so you can just use it's perfect territory for the Hurricanes.
Yeah,
that's
but the
what he's doing now.
Closely and is getting picked off. That's not a good. I think that Bofors has been there for quite a while, so not having that Bofors move to a safer area was quite the mistake here.
But yeah, Hurricanes coming in time and again. Meanwhile, in the south, the Sherman fell to the Stuk 4, so Robert not looking super hot in the south anymore either. And there's a Panther in the north, so he can't go out into the open there, but it's still a 12-12, and Boston's now coming in as well. So yeah, this forest gets completely Vietnamed, I would say. Only Napalm missing now.
Exactly. He really lost the momentum on both the north and the southern side. He at least managed, yeah, he lost total momentum, and I don't think he doesn't have any vehicles in the south, so that's pretty dead for a while. And as we can see, all his income is based now on retaking the center. But it seems like a bit more doable now. As long as he keeps his Sherman out of Panzerschreck shooting into the forest, I think he can snap at least.
Oh, that's a weird line of sight with the Pioneer up the hill in the forest that shoots out from there onto the Indian Rifles. Like, these hills really remind me of Wano, inside of the forest in the middle as well.
Yeah.
With a bit of a weird line of sight. Yeah, it gets hit from the Sherman over there as well.
Yeah, exactly. It has like the sight tool isn't really built for the third dimension, unfortunately. But so you really need to keep track of those units you have in the center here, so this does not happen. And it's the same with like you can really get too close sometimes. If you have like a flamer unit, if you cross a hilltop, then you might even be so close to the enemy you can't even fire a flamer. And then you're amazed how your enemy's Ersatztruppen managed to kill your Flammenwerfer at CQC, but it's because of you need to be careful where you cross those ledges.
Yeah, that and Yeah, and it never happened to me actively, I think, but yeah, I can see how that happens. Yeah, that's a shitty experience. Moving into Flammenwerfers and then getting bullied by Ersatztruppen. Not what you usually want to see, that's for sure. And Herbert finally closed the front line behind Quadriview's units. Panzerschreck still trying to at least find the kill onto the Sherman, but slowly but surely Herr Robert is stamping it out. The air support really helped out big time there. But at the same time, Quadriview now on the push in the south, having quite a bit more forces there.
Exactly.
Robert reacting with the off map, so interesting how effective that will be.
Yeah, it's more this off map isn't like the killy off map. It's more of a pinning. Maybe you can get some surrender off map. So, and he doesn't have much fast stuff that can do the surrenders. I don't think it's gonna. It might be a delay, and that might be what actually Robert needs, because he's not ready to fight in the south for a good while. Even with the reinforcements coming in, being more infantry, those Stugs and Speer, as STK have said, are just gonna mess him over.
Oh no! Herr Robert is moving the Sherman perfectly in range of the Panzerschreck. Ooh, that Panzerschreck could be juicy. Why is Quadriview not killing it? He's playing with it, isn't he?
I don't think he sees it.
But I mean, it just killed his infantry, so he must have seen it. But
oh,
yeah.
okay, maybe missed. He watched somewhere else, and probably now the unit can't see it. So.
Oh, that Focke-Wulf could have killed the Hurricane. Too early retreat there by Quadriview, I think. Single Bofors wouldn't have killed the Focke-Wulf either, so yeah, I'm pretty sure he could have gotten there for the kill. Doesn't want to risk it, understandable, but I think in my eyes a mistake. More Hurricanes coming in. Ooh, trying to go really deep. Let's see if that works out. Flak 36 is around, but as you said, not the perfect line of sight, so it might engage a bit late. That might allow at least one of the Hurricanes to get through.
Yeah, I think it's a bit further up now than last time I saw it, but yeah, it's still a bit too much in the forest, and we'll see here.
Ooh,
yep.
Yeah.
Good
hit.
But one Hurricane is going to go down onto the Focke-Wulf. The AA is nowhere near.
Yeah, both might go down here. The other AA is also... he could have hunted that one down as well, but he doesn't want to risk it.
And Herr Robert is quite heavily invested in air. Like we saw, that's how he got the center.
Yeah, another Bofors coming in now for him. I would like to see a Spitfire to come in together with the next airstrike, trying to catch a Focke-Wulf on the way out. Flak 41 on the other side for Quadriview now though. So he is investing into more AA as well. He doesn't want to get bombed. Understandable.
In the meantime, the Panther had a while back relocated to the center, and that opened up Herr Robert to steal the northern flags. And he's actually stealing 3 flags at the moment, while at least one of them is going to be a bit hard for, quite hard to get back, and one more is going to be decently hard. The last one is going to not be a problem.
Ooh, the Boston Bomber just ever so slightly didn't get pinned by the 2 first shots of the Flak 41, so it got its bombs off, but it doesn't hit much. Because they're super inaccurate. Like, it couldn't have been more inaccurate because it was so heavily stressed out. So, yeah. Not much damage dealt there. And a lot of flamethrowers in the middle for Quadriview. Like, a lot of Flammenwerfer teams and then Sturm Pioneers. So that's a hell of a lot of napalm in the forest as well.
Yeah. And here we go, Robert. This road I think is very dangerous a lot of time because it's often somewhat unguarded. But oh, he's not going there. He's going down south. But that road just south of the forest, often you can sneak stuff up there. I've seen other league games and myself use that. Like just use that road and all of a sudden you're in the enemy's back line, because, like I said, there are a lot of effective front line. This is the widest front line in any game because there's no lake or like almost impassable terrain, cutting a large portion of the map off.
So yeah, this map is kind of weird to maneuver through. Like, the forests are important, but you always kind of forget about them, especially on the side one. I also sneaked a couple of... Even against someone like Gonzo, I was able to sneak Lati anti-tank rifles up the northern part of the map as well, into his forest there. Yeah, it's interesting. Ooh, Herr Robert now being too greedy with his airplay. Might lose his second Boston as well. Yeah, will lose his second Boston as well. Way too greedy. If you know your enemy has Fokker Wolves out, you can't just bring in Bostons without fighter escorts. It's just not a viable strategy.
Especially since he just lost one of his fighter bombers and almost should have lost two last time he struck the very same area. So hopefully he learns now from the second strike, because he can't. I think like another air fight like that, and Herr Robert has lost pretty much most of the air force that he invested quite heavily in so far in the game.
Ooh, got the Sherman kill there with a 17-pounder. Stuck kill with a 17-pounder. Sherman's now trying to come in, but there's a Panther up from Quattro U. He moved it to the southern side of the center, having some quite good line of sight, so Herr Robert not quite able to push from there either. Meanwhile, Alvarado, the air power of Quattro U, still unopposed, coming in the north, will hit the Indian rifle, most likely nuke it completely. Yep.
Yes.
1,000 kilogram bombs don't toy around.
Yeah, Robert didn't, like, he got the flags quite easily, but he gave them away quite easily as well. He didn't really reinforce it with anything that could hold off any type, like you can see, like a Panzer Grenadiers just walking up back after some AA. And I'm quite surprised he's bringing the the non-radio mortars here. Like, you have some howitzers with radios in Indian, but he brings the normal 81 centimeters millimeters instead. But they're close enough now to do some quite damage. That flak is way too far up for its own good.
Yeah, will get killed off by the Sherman now. Oh no, Sniper Rifle already gets it. But yeah, it was not a good trade there for you, that's for sure. Yeah, I'm also surprised by the mortars. But last game we already didn't, these guys played. Robert also didn't bring in the 114mm howitzers. He doesn't seem to be the biggest fan of them. Which is a surprise, because everyone else, me included, is really enjoying them. They are pretty cheap for their firepower.
Exactly, like the 20 points extra is pretty much almost worth just the radio addition. And on top of that, they're actually dealing a good, nice chunk of damage on top of that. And they have longer amount, they can fire for longer before they need to get resupplied.
Yep. Ooh, Panther comes around. That Sherman is in a really awkward spot right now. That no penetration on the first shot. Might get the second shot off first, but mostly, oh no, doesn't get the second shot off first. It's a 2-star veterancy Panther. So no AT currently in the middle whatsoever, so that Panther actually can just roll forward if it would want to. 17-pounder is on the way though, so it shouldn't stay around there for too long. The 81mm mortar is actually surprisingly effective even on long range. Killing off a Flak 36 there. Damn.
There's gonna be any, I see him really going for AA, and then, so AA is now neutralized in the north, but in the south we're gonna have a 17-pounder against the Panther here. It's gonna be quite an important fight, I think. Because other than that, there's just Flak 41s defending here now, north and the IG. And I was quite surprised because when Herr Robert started retaking the central forest, I thought that he would lose ground in the southern town, but Quattro U didn't really push when he had the advantage there. Of course, it's easy for us to say that has the all-knowing eye, and now he's back to not really being so ahead in the south anymore.
Yeah, losing the Panther there really hurt. 2 successive hits there from the 17-pounder ended that life of the Panther quite quickly. And now he also has 81mm mortars in the south to try to deal with the AA there. Yeah. If only he would have 2 more Bostons now and a couple of Spitfires, he could just bomb this shit out of the north. But his bomber force is a bit reduced, so it's not quite as dangerous to lose the AA anymore, but it's still obviously not something you just want to give up as Quattro U here.
Yeah, in the center we're gonna see how long all of these Stern Pioneers are gonna last, because it's just a question until it probably get bombed away again, but because he can't leave the area, and yeah, here the Hurricane coming in.
When the Storm Pioneers move in the wrong time, but only one of them gets killed. Okay, Hurricane not on this most efficient run yet. And Fokker Wolf this time really deep diving. Could make it? No. Bofors with some really nice successive hits there. Pins it down quite quickly. Bofors still one of the best AA pieces in the game.
it's very lucky it survived with 1 health, because that's huge, that it's still alive. Just having that there, like you saw, saved him some planes.
Another Panther has arrived in the north, so 2 Panthers currently on the map. One in the north, one in the center. In the south, more Pak 40s trying to come in. So the Shermans of Herr Robert are in some pretty open spots, at least one of them. And Gurkha rifles versus Panzer Grenadiers are somewhat close fights as well, due to the extra hit points of the Gurkha rifles.
And that it's not the 42 version of the MG as well. And we see already Quarter U losing Flak 41 to Mortar Fight. The Mortar is doing a great job here for Robert. We really see that he seems to be just want to hold the cities and kind of air grind down Quarter U. And I feel like at the moment Herr Robert is the one that has the advantage at the moment. Like the game is moving in his direction. How do you feel?
I would say so as well. SDKFZ goes down as well now. If he focuses on keeping his air alive and then keep his artillery play this well up, he should be in a good spot. Maybe I would like to see one more Bofors somewhere around the middle, so that he maybe even has a chance of stopping an Arado from coming in. And just keeping a Spitfire constantly out in the rear could also be a helpful thing. The Sherman I was talking about being too far out in the open got sniped by the Pak 40. Good snatch there by Quadro U.
Quadro U's investing some stuff along with the Panther in the north, but this is not gonna. It's just gonna help defend. This is nowhere near enough to push, and we have some defensive lines here now.
What we
flag it?
gotta point out is that we are now in C phase. And both only have 80 income now. So every loss taken is a big one. So you kind of have to be a bit more careful now what you do. But that means also that Quadro U can't really afford artillery anymore. So the 3 mortars of Herr Robert will be a big advantage in the long run.
It certainly will be. And he has more air to support his ground forces. While the Arado is great, it's not as big against like 8th Indian. So for as long as Herr Robert doesn't do a too big mistake, like even if there's like 2 Gurkha rifles or like 2 Indian rifles that gets too close, as long as he keeps them separated, maybe you lose an Indian rifle and like half another squad, and that's not going to be enough in this game. For the Arado takes quite some time to reload, and the Indian rifles are numerous and cheap.
He still doesn't have a fighter around. Focke-Wulf is coming around. Ooh, does he micro his Hurricane? No, he doesn't Ooh. It doesn't get killed in the head-on. That's lucky.
I think it was due to the angle of it moving up from a bombing run, so it wasn't firing for its full duration.
Yeah, Bofors gets the pin down on the Focke-Wulf, so really lucky there for Herr Robert to not lose his Hurricane in that one.
Yeah, I think, like you said, like he probably needs another Bofors in the north there, because as we can see, there's no AA. There's another Flak, as I just say, no AA in the north. Another Flak 41 is coming to the north now, but we've seen how they've been doing so far. So either they're close enough to actually push away Robert's air, and that will make them mortar fodder, or they're too far back to actually do something.
Yeah, the mortars are certainly kind of dangerous to them. Let's see how far this one goes forward. It has a solid position, I would say. Especially as the Panthers now moving forward. But something that Quadro U is lacking a bit now is infantry in the middle. He now has 2 Panthers, SDKFZ, and so on around here. But really not many infantry units anymore. And the last Storm Pioneer currently gets engaged by the Gurkha rifles, so might go down as well. But the Focke-Wulf at least gets a kill into a Hurricane. Hurricane goes too deep. Still no Spitfires whatsoever, still no second Bofors in the north, and Herr Robert loses more of his air power.
Yeah, I think that's what we see. Like Herr Robert is a bit like he doesn't challenge Quadro U's planes at all, so he's been losing a bit too many air, even though he's been quite good at killing Quadro U's AA. But he, like you said, there's not very much infantry left for Quarter U, and the one area he was actually strong, the center, he's way behind. He's much behind now, and I think it's because what you see, like his last few income ticks, has been focused around Flak 41s and Panthers, and maybe like an IG, etc., which have made that we haven't seen much infantry for a lot of time for Quarter U, and we're really seeing that effect right now.
Yeah, he brings in more Pioneers and Storm Pioneers, so he still has more CQC infantry in his deck. Robert seems to be out of it. He only relies on Indian rifles and Gurkha rifles now. But he's finally back up to 1311. As we are playing with a time limit, he has to take down Quadriu for sure. We are still quite a bit off from there, but we are on the halfway mark there. Wait, did he just Boston bomb the Panzerschreck?
Yeah, I think the Panzerschreck killed the supply truck. It sniped the supply truck for the mortars.
Okay.
And it got spotted and Bostoned away.
Lucky that he hit there. With a bit of micro, Quadriu could have maybe dodged that. But yeah, Boston Bomber hits that. Not the most amazing run I've ever seen of a Boston, but hey, at least he got rid of it. Indian rifles get sniped out in the open.
I think that if in the south here, Herr Robert can sneak that very strong flag. The line you can see is very, very close to taking a flag here in the south with his engineers. If he just moves up without moving it into the next building, so it hides behind one following building, I think it actually would be enough to snipe that flag. It wouldn't change the tick though, or as I say that, it would change the tick, but yes, because I think he's not going to be able to hold the center flag of Quarter U, but I don't think Quarter U is going to be able to take the Herr Robert flag, at least in the next few minutes.
Well, one way of keeping the center flag would be using the mortars for the center, I would say. Pinning down Pioneers there. Ooh, 17 pounder gets an Opal Blitz. Oh, hello there, Bowser. Thanks for the raid. How did your stream go? As we are here in Herr Robert vs. Quadriu, game number 2. First game was casted on Sunday. And we are in the late phase of a Maverick versus Maverick game here, which means low income on both sides. Every loss matters a hell of a lot. Ooh, that Sherman went way too aggressive. I don't know what that Sherman thought it would do. He knew about the Panther, so yeah, that was quite the gamble. And one thing that Herr Robert lacks this game is like critical amount of Shermans. Like Shermans work best in pairs or groups of 3s to 4s. The Verado actually might go down here with survives just so it will come around once more after killing off the 17 pounder. But yeah, Shermans are not the most amazing tank to just be around on their own. They're not good loners.
Yeah, they haven't been doing much that game, and the other side also that Herr Robert has been going heavy into air, but everything has been ground support. Like he has totally ignored Quarter U's air with he hasn't tried to challenge it with his own air, and he has not even the fighters that has been going after Herr Robert's ground support.
Yeah, how did your stream go, Bowser? And does that work now? No, that command still doesn't work. So yeah. How did your Warno stream go, Bowser? Ooh, Fuck a Wolf coming in, another Boston going down. Big oof. More air power lost. And you don't even need the Spitfire to kill the Fuck a Wolves. You just need to keep it around so that the enemy doesn't want to engage your Boston, because he would lose his Fuck a Wolf if he would engage. Like, you don't even need to hunt down the Fuck a Wolves with a Spitfire, so you just need to have the Spitfire as a threat in the rear. And he doesn't have that at the moment. And that's why he loses plane after plane to these Spitfires, to this Fuck a Wolves. Doesn't even try to challenge them.
And most of the planes he's lost is in the same spot in the south, over and over. And he hasn't bombed that Flak 36 that has been one of the main culprits. So hopefully Herr Robert hasn't really learned that sending planes to the south is not a good, especially so deep. Like he could maybe take the flag in the very, very south. That he can bomb with his current Hurricane, but he can't go further than that, and he has been punished for that over and over again this game.
Yeah, and that was his biggest advantage for most of the game, I would say, that he had this close air support. Now, the one advantage he has in my eyes is the artillery, and then obviously infantry numbers. But making infantry numbers work on any of the parts of the flag is not a super easy thing to do. Like, his infantry is not good in CQC compared to Pioneers and Storm Pioneers, so you can't just spam infantry in there and hope it works. And his infantry is not great versus Panzer Grenadiers in a 1v1 in the town fight either. So there's no like mid-range territory where you could just spam them here. It's either long range or short range. So he's kind of struggling finding the perfect spot to infantry spam.
Exactly, like Herr Robert has been like kind of in the lead many times, like but he's been losing a lot of flags. And that's why he's been ticked down a lot by things that I think that he should have been more in control over. And like we see now, just a bunch of Indian rifles in the south, just in the open to try to hold a bunch of flags. But yeah, there's this is one of the big things in the map, is that you can't really push to the very edges of your opponent's city without taking out support, because there's usually heavy air tanks, AT guns, support guns outside of the city, being able to have enough sight lines of the city to really cut off here, which is just what we're seeing here in the southern city, and why Robert has over and over again not managed to really get those flags.
Yeah, it's interesting how this game is both sides pushing, overextending, getting crushed. The back and forth in this game is quite good. Like, first the center push of Quadro U that got completely annihilated at some point by the air support. Then Robert pushing back, then overextending it slightly with his Sherman, with his infantry, getting killed off by the Panthers and the Storm Pioneers. And in the town, same thing. It's not as fluent in the town because it's only like one flag back, one in one direction, one flag back in the other direction. But it's also a nice back and forth there.
Yeah, I think the game for Robert here is maybe it's not the most interesting, but like what he do is he just needs to hold, not lose the forest, and like he can, like we said, like he can sneak one of the flags in the southern city by just having infantry like hide around, and with that single tick just grind away at the enemy, bomb when your opponent tries to push the center or somewhere else. And I think that's a way for him, but over and over he tries to push up, he gets killed off, gets pushed back and loses a flag, and gets ticked as much as he ticked Quattro U, and he's still behind on the tick.
Yeah, and we're slightly getting into, slowly getting into territory where time limit might be something to think about. 20 minutes remaining. So even with a 1 tick speed that we currently have, we just Quadro U would just finish just before time limit kicks in. And I'm pretty sure Herr should be able to get back to a 12-12 at least for a while here. So I feel like this game might head to that time limit.
It might very well be so, because it's just like you said. The reason it's been a bit grindy is because both players have really been, like, they've killed the very things at the front line and push up, and then the back line for Quadro U, it's the Pack 40s, Flak 41s, Panthers, and for Herr Robert it's been like planes that have just like quickly shut down. Even like even if you move up a slight bit ahead, it has been punished as an overextension.
Flak 41s and Pack 40s here really in a good spot, good firing arc all around the city in the south. And Herr Robert, maybe something he underused in this game is smoke. Like, if you already use mortars, you might as well use them for good smoke. Maybe that way you could ambush the enemy a bit better. Gets the IG-33 with his mortar once more though. Mortar's really doing a good job here over time. There has not been a single artillery piece of Quadro U, something he always lacks. He's not a good artillery player whatsoever. The amount of artillery he brings you usually can count at one hand, or mostly you don't even need a hand at all, because yeah, most of the time it's like this, like no AA whatsoever, artillery whatsoever. Maybe an off map, but that's it. So, but he could really profit from a mortar or an artillery piece here.
Now we see Indian rifles trying to use that sudden forest road, but they get caught off by Panther, which has been lurking around there, and this has been, it's been cut off for a while, but so it's a bit too late to try that tactic. But what he could do, I think, here is try to sneak cut off again, because he managed to do it before. And I think the mortars are enough. Just firing into the city is not really worth it, I think. And he's about to lose a flag and stuff. Like, I think while Quarter U feels like he hasn't really had the best kind of engagement and been pushed back, he's been doing great when it comes to holding ground where it's important.
Yeah,
now he's at a double tick.
you really can feel the game sense of this player there. Quarter U loses his Panther though, so one more tool of his getting eliminated there out in the open. One more 2000 kilometer range tool getting killed off, and 2000 meter range tools are so important on this map. Boston Bomber is now coming in once more. Fokker Wolf is on the hunt. Yeah, went for the wrong Boston Bomber at the beginning. Gets a couple of shots in, so the Flak 41 might be able to finish it off. The Flak 36 and the Flak 41.
That one Boston is screwed.
I'm not 100% sure about this. The question is how far away from the Flak 36 will it fly? Because for the Flak 41s you never know. Sometimes they hit, sometimes they don't. Question is how many shots will the Flak 36 get in? Yeah, that Boston will get out.
I'm even wrong. Did not expect that.
You cast across Quarter U there. You never call it playing cursed or say it will get out, because that way it will always come the other way around. You need to learn that. That's the first lesson of a caster.
Maybe I'm just I'm paid off by one of the players here.
Yeah. Like
to curse the opponent's units by the casting.
Calling an outcome of an event in a video game as a caster always leads to the exact opposite happening. That's just caster 101 there. Fokker Wolf A8 coming in. Ooh, Bofors this time having a good handle on it. That Fokker Wolf will go down, I think. But that's me doing the mistake. No, ooh, I was right. Damn. Harado coming in. Getting quite heavily over AA as well. And it's not the most resilient plane, so it could go down as well. Bofors still firing.
I think to Herr Robert even
the Harado goes down. So Herr Robert now is the king of the sky again.
The question though is, does Herr Robert even have fighter planes in his deck?
Yeah, that's a good question. I might want to check the deck of Herr Robert after this game, because it's a weird deck. I guess he doesn't. He's now up to a 1410. 15 minutes remaining. He needs to take down Quarter U for like 10 minutes or so of it. Or like, I guess like 7 minutes or so of it to get back into the advantage here. With 20 minutes remaining on Quarter U's hit health points. So that wouldn't be played to the end. But
yeah, he really needs to change the pace of the game. Because the pace of the game has, even though while Herr Robert we see have been doing good in like holding a lot of ground, it hasn't been as much for the flags.
But at the moment I feel like he could just A-click and win, no? Like, maybe not in the south, but even in the center now he could just A-click, capture that flag and then just move through it. Obviously not quite A-click, but with some smoke, maybe even that. Like smoke in the southern town with your mortar and then just move all your rifles forward. As I said, overall smoke maybe the most underused tool in Herr Robert's set in this game, next to fighter planes.
That is very true. I think that is, as long as you if you cut off the back line support that Quarter U has, his southern city would fall very quickly, and I think he can even sneak some of the southern flags if you move infantry, because I feel that that's what actually happens a lot in the cities, is that the infantry don't sometimes even engage. It's about like the backline support engaging each other, while the frontline infantry either spot or they try to just sneak up to hide and capture a flag.
Yeah. Herr Robert get the flag in the middle, but it's still a 12-12 as he loses the flag in the south. His mortar tries to hit there. Sherman helps out as well. Pak 40 not able to hit on the Sherman. Another Sherman is on the way there as well, but it's now a 13-11 for Quarter U, and every second that ticks right now makes it harder for Herr to win this game, because he needs to take that extra on top of Quarter U, so basically 2 seconds lost for every second Quattro U ticks here right now for Herr Robert.
Exactly, like this sudden flag has been very, very crucial for Quattro U this game, because he's like lost it every now and then for a while, but he keeps on sneaking that up without much investment. And Herr Robert, I think he's been using his bombers elsewhere. Like it's only it's one of the easier areas for him to bomb at the moment, but comparatively to where he's been bombing, it's not enough in this area where he actually needs to do it.
Yeah, and if this game would be without time limit, I would say Herr Robert will win this game. He now has the air power. He has more longevity with his Indian rifles. His deck should be deeper, but without time limit, I'm not quite sure he will be doing it in time. He needs a 12-12 really soon now. He can't afford any more ticks against him, and he actually basically needs a 13-11 just after. Focke-Wulf will get the kill onto the Hurricane. Will die for it most likely. Oh no, it doesn't. Oh my.
Oh wow.
Oh wow.
Force, big. Oh, it's three Bofors. There's another one hiding behind a unit card here in the city. There's two in the city and one outside.
Yeah, but it got some shots off against the Hurricane as well, so I was like, yeah, this one is surely going down, because like half a second or a second or so on top of a Hurricane is usually enough for Focke-Wulf to ruin that Hurricane's day, but didn't get the right hits there, it seems.
It's looking bad for Herr Robert in the in the center though. He's sneaking a flag up, but there's several Pioneers and Sturm Pioneers up around. Luckily, he's engaging the right unit at the moment. He's fighting against Panzer Grenadiers instead of Pioneers and Sturm Pioneers. But you don't really want to. He doesn't have much to fight them. He really needs those mortars to be firing on them, or like the air. And we see Quattro U ticking yet again.
Yeah, Quattro U back to ticking, brings in another Panther. Also having a lot of good 2000 meter range combo in the north, like it's the holy triumvirate there, the IG-33 Flak 41 Panther combo that is super hard to engage with anything. Infantry doesn't work, tank don't work, and planes don't work either, so pretty tough to engage. The only way basically is artillery and smoke.
Yeah, I think Herr Robert shouldn't focus on the north at all. Like, how is it built up? Like, I don't think he has it. Like, he could maybe dismantle it, but I don't think it's gonna be any. Like, he's not gonna do it because he's not using smoke much, and he could like maybe bomb like mortar away the Flak 41, but the mortars aren't really in the close area to that. So I think.
But he needs the 12-12, and he needs it now. That's the most important thing right now. He needs a fucking 12-12 because every tick right now is so brutal against him. And he needs something to get flags again. The mortars need to come in, but he might even lose more flags in the center, as the Pioneers are moving on to another flag, and there's nothing in the north. Well, I guess the Bofors is holding it at the moment. But, okay, he brings it back to 12-12, but it's really A-click territory now already, because he needs to get like something like 8 minutes or so of tick, and it's only 9 minutes remaining, so really all about A-clicking now for Roard. He's too chilled right now. Like, this is the moment where you should start to panic mode and just A-click and hope it works out, because not much else you can do with the time limit getting closer and closer. Boston Bombers in the north seems like a waste as well. I think the south is a way better spot right now for Boston Bomber.
He can't afford that, and now he's about to lose another flag in the forest here. He's struggling really much in the forest. He managed to snipe one transport, but the other transport snaps up a flag. Yeah, it's looking quite grim for Robert. Like, it feels like he's been in control of like a lot of the engagement, other than pushing up, but he's really not been in control of the front line.
Yeah, Quattro U has the better understanding of how to move units around to capture flags. It feels like that part went really well for Quattro U so far. 12-12 back for Robert, but he needs to A-click now. He needs to A-click. He has 8 minutes now. He still has to get up. He needs a 59 now at some point, and he needs to get a 13-11 basically at the second. Otherwise, there's just not much hope here. More Indian rifles coming in for the center, but there's too much CQC infantry there. I'm trying to find a spot for Robert, but with him not using smoke, I just don't see it. Like, if I would consider smoke, and I would say the south is absolutely takeable still. But as he doesn't use smoke, all his Indian rifles are locked into their buildings because they can't leave because there's just too much stuff firing at them. So yeah, using smoke is the way. Maybe he now starts to use smoke when he realizes he doesn't have HE shells and he doesn't have time. Maybe he comes up with that plan as well, but so far, not working out at all for him.
Yeah, I think he really needs to, at least like in the south city, move up like a field engineer or something, like, and hide it to snap up a flag. But like, it hasn't happened so far yet this game, and it's looking quite grim for Herr Robert, because his current playstyle is not working with the time limit in mind.
Yeah, only 7 minutes remaining, and he needs to get flags, and I just don't see where. He needs to get 3 flags now, basically. And he needs to get them in within the next 2 or 3 minutes. And he's not playing like that is what's happening. He's still playing way too chilled right now.
Yeah. It's looking very tough for him to take this one here.
Yeah, people still haven't adjusted to the time limit, I guess, is what we see here. Because I think we had a similar situation in one of his games against Gonzo, where he also could have won, and he just didn't play with the time limit in mind. It's weird to see someone who played a lot of Steel Division Normandy 44 just not realizing what's happening right now. Boston Bomber in the north pins down defensive grenadiers, but yeah, it's A-click time. You only have 5 minutes, Robert, and you're getting ticked down. Like, the only way for victory right now for you is A-click. Just A-click everything and smoke.
At least I think he's doing the right thing now in the the side road of the center force. He tries to just send some infantry up and capture ground, which is kind of the tropes you need now. A bit desperate, but Quarter U has that under control.
Yeah, Indian Rifles trying to sneak up in the north, getting a flag there, but it's still Quadro U ticking. I don't know how Quadro U is ticking right now. I feel like Robert should be so heavily in control of this game right now, but he just isn't. He has a hell of a lot of infantry, he doesn't have a lot of support equipment, and he doesn't get his infantry to do anything. Like, if you use this much infantry, you at least should have a plan of how to actually use that infantry, but his infantry just sits around. And I guess that kind of works in a game without time limit, but in the game with time limit, not quite as good.
Yeah, and I think it's, like I said, is that one map I think is a trap for a lot of players when you start this, which I think I've learned by now in this map, is that just spamming this, like, you think, oh, it's a city, I want a lot of infantry, just like other maps, like Hausaja, where I have like push-up infantry, but it's usually, I feel, not working really on this map, because in this map, like, it's not infantry, it's much more the support that is, because of the sight lines in and out of the city are much more open. So it's usually the support outside of the city or around the city shooting into it that decides that combat. So Herr Robert has invested so much points in infantry, both the north and south city, that has just been sitting around, not doing much, because he hasn't been able to sneak the flags with them. And that's, yeah, they haven't really been good for much this game.
Meanwhile, Mortar Fire still doing stuff, but Robert only brings it back to a 12-12. He has 4 minutes remaining, and he's way too chilled for 4 minutes remaining. Loses a Fokker Wolf, but this is really the second where you just A-click. Just A-click, Herr Robert. You now have a 13-11, but you must realize that you're not gonna win with what you got right now. Even an 18-6 at the moment might even stretch it. Even I don't think a 59 right now would be enough anymore. So yeah, I think it's over, but it's really mostly over because Robert didn't really try to go for the flags. He gave up the tick too easy to Quadro U a long time, and also he didn't push early enough and hard enough. So yeah, still brings in 17 pounders. Doesn't even realize there is a time limit in place. Feels like he might have forgotten.
Yeah, maybe so. And just north now, the flak is out of ammo, so it's getting some munitions. But we actually, I think we saw the first time, at least I saw the first time that, Herr Robert tried to maneuver his bombers, because he tried to maneuver the Boston away from the Fokker Wolf, and I think instead of saving it, he actually killed it instead of saving it after the first turn. Because the rest of the games I've just seen. He's been like sending in the bomb, and then they almost been like Winchestering back. I haven't seen much air micro from Herr Robert, if any at all.
Yeah, he he auto-evac a lot of them. Ooh, Arado getting a perfect hit in the center. And yeah, this is it. 2 minutes 30. No way Herr Robert is coming back in this one. Even with an 18-6, he wouldn't come back at this stage anymore. So... Or just so slightly. But yeah, he could maybe get to a 59, but it wouldn't matter at this stage anymore. So, Quadryu taking game number 2 as well, it seems like. Look
Yeah.
at that. This is impressive holdout by him after messing a bit up in the south and also getting pushed heavily in the north, losing a couple of Panthers in bad engagements. But yeah, he always found the right spot to sneak a unit in to get a flag and gets rewarded for it in the long run.
Exactly, and I think yeah, the air has been not working for him. The mortar's working well for him, but like I said, he has so many units that has like not doing much. Both the Shermans, this big infantry blobs in the middle, the suiciding of a lot of airplanes, while Quarter U has been more playing the getting killed in the fights he plays because he's just overwhelmed by the 8th Indian Infantry or like masses and air power, but just like sneaking around and holding flags, and that's what you kind of need to do in this map. In this, especially when the game turns out to be a kind of grind like this, and Herr Robert hasn't really been flag sneaking that much, I feel.
Yeah, he was not flag focused whatsoever in this game. He was focused on keeping ground and then hitting the enemy. And I'm pretty sure if this game would have not have a time limit, Herr Robert at some point would have grinded down Quadryu. But yeah, we will not see that because the game will end in 45 seconds and it will be Quadryu as the winner. Herr Robert has the take currently, but it doesn't really matter. As Boston Bomber comes in one more time. But he would need a 24-0 right now.
But I think Quadryu, I think he missed out on like the artillery support very much this game. But other than that, I think he has some he knows much better how to play the cities on this map, which is you have some infantry in the city to hold the front line, and then what you really focus on is the backline support. He's been having his Stugs, Panthers, Pack 40s, IGs, Flag 41s, and that has totally stopped Herr Robert from pushing more. And Herr Robert has just pushed in more and more and more infantry, but it didn't work in the beginning of the game and didn't work now later in the game either.
Yeah, and we are arrived at 55-minute mark, and Robert wins the game. And loses the game to Quadryu. Quadryu also having the better KD. A bit surprised by that, actually.
Yeah, I think it's because he had so much like points in like back stuff like Panthers, Flax. So I think that's the case, and all of the air that have just died.
Yeah, I guess it's a lot of the planes dying for her Robert there. But I mean, there also died some planes. There were also some other planes killed. But yeah, GGVP here to Quadryu, getting the W in the end.
To be fair, if I look at the kills, a lot of Shermans have been doing actually quite well, like killing some important stuff: Stugs, Pumas, Jack Panzers, infantry support, and there's some 17 pounder as well here. So yeah, they haven't been doing that bad. But for Quarter U, it's really the few units like support back units that has been doing the killing for him. He has very few like infantry units per se that have been doing much. It's been the with a few exceptions, it's been the back support that has really been the thing holding Herr Robert off here.
Okay, yeah, I agree. Yes. Also, let's have a look on this deck of Herr Roberts. Let's have a look on that deck because I'm really interested to see if he has a Spitfire in this deck. A single Spitfire would have helped out so much in this game. But air micro doesn't seem to be his what Herr Robert is focused on at all. Like, he comes in with a lot of airplay, but with a really little air support.
I think Herr Robert is like of the top playing players, he's one of the like biggest like his internal skill like between the different areas of the game is the like least balanced, because I feel like I see Herr Robert like winning against like some very very good players some games, and then losing against some like games that he should be winning that are against few divisions below him, and at the same time you watch him and he's doing great several games, just totally stomping very good players, and then other games like we see now, like in some areas of the game you don't really understand what he's doing with some units.
Robert did pick for a non-time limit game with his deck. Like, this deck speaks 1 minute, 1 hour 40, 1 hour 40 or so game versus someone else with Maverick.
Yeah.
Because he has 2 C-phase cards of infantries, 1 C-phase cards of Sherman, 1 C-phase card of 17 pounders, and the 140mm in C-phase as well, and the Boston Bomber card in C-phase. He has 11 Boston Bombers in that deck.
I very much smell, oh, time limit? Question mark was probably his comment that he said at the 55-minute mark.
Oh, like. Damn it.
And
Sherman.
so little support units, because that's what I feel like we said.
I mean, you don't have much support in Indians. That's the only weakness this deck has. It has no big support tab.
And that's what I actually think, that this is not really Indian right, like 8th Indians map.
You know.
I don't think it is.
But yeah, if you would have changed the Indian rifles he in C phase for Assault Pioneers in B phase, for example, having 18 Assault Pioneers for that middle forest would have changed the dynamic there heavily as well. That's one thing I would have changed in his. And then, yeah, first of all, buying a Spitfire, and second of all, moving these artillery pieces into B. You'd never need more than 6 in 1v1, even if it is without time limit. You'd never buy more than 6 of these. You don't need a C-phase card of these. Like, the hell is this deck?
Yeah, he could have used like even if he wanted that many, like use 2 cards instead, I would say. Like they're very, like you see, there's 1 activation points for them. So I think, yeah, it was a bit unique, but I think that is quite typical of Herr Robert. He usually brings decks that brings up question marks in many other players when you open them up.
Yeah, I mean, that's also somehow is a way how he somehow wins games sometimes, by like just completely catching the enemy on the wrong foot by bringing a unit that nobody else would bring in a phase that nobody else would bring it in. But yeah, this time it just didn't work out. And maybe also shows that even Herr Robert hasn't figured out 8th Indian yet, because it's a somewhat new division, and you haven't fully figured out when you need what and how much you need it. Yeah, like for example, 11 Boston Bombers I think is a bit overkill. If you already have 3 Hurricanes, you don't need 14 Bombers in a deck. Like, even I don't bring that many in a deck, and I spam air. So
I think you actually hit the nail on the head there. What you said is that, like, Herr Robert plays a very odd play styles. Like when you bump it, and that's why I think he's doing so good sometimes against very good players, and sometimes just completely collapses, because he plays something weird, and sometimes it's amazing, and he just do great and totally kills off his enemy, and some other time it's just a complete meme, and he just like throws his head to the wall and just collapse himself.
Yep, 100% agree. That's like, Robert is one of the most on or off Division 1 players. But yeah, with that said, let's talk about the winner. Quadro U moves on, and we have the first semi-final set up in this season. And let's have a look on that. It's Division 1. Quadro U will move on, and he will play Onward in the semi-final. Semi-final number 1. And that should be a hell of an interesting semi-final. Fantix versus Skotter will play versus Gonzo. And that should be quite interesting as well. Skotter and Fantix, I would say, are similar in skill level as well. Gonzo and Onord are the 2 favorites of mine for this season. Anything else than an Onord versus Gonzo final, in my eyes, would be a surprise. But, I mean, Skotter has shown that he can beat Gonzo. Quadro U can always come up with a funny strategy that could catch Onord off guard. So, still really, really hyped for what the semifinals will bring. And with that said, I will go for a short break. And then we will go into Flix's games, because he sent me his games as DM, asking me